Hey guys.
Hi peeps, how's it going?
Hopefully everybody is having an awesome day. Thank you guys for joining. How come I can't see the little bar?
Okay.
Sorry, we're just turning on all the things.
There's the little chat bar and
see how many people are.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. See it. So apparently we have 8 people on here, and then we've also got Instagram and Facebook. So we will. Wow, we're cooking. So the team's just getting us all set up here. So this week's, did we have a printout at all of what we're talking about?
No.
Okay. So the basis of what Alisa and I do with the company, or with like our whole team, is basically we create passive residential real estate opportunities for anybody. And we wanted to really just kind of slash the
barrier to entry, basically.
And the theory that only the rich could invest in real estate and only the rich could get ahead, right? So for us, this is why we invest in Saskatoon and in the Battlefords right now. It's why we're heading into the States in areas that mimic Saskatoon's market. So again, really low barrier to entry. So essentially, if somebody has $25,000 or $25,000 in registered funds or in a home equity line of credit, or whatever that may be, essentially somebody could start working with us. And that is something we wanted and we kind of did by design. But I get that, it's still $25,000. Some people might not have that. So at the end of the day, we still are an investment company. So we do need people to, or that have the capacity to invest.
I think though a lot of people out there may think they don't have it. And it's honestly 9 times out of 10, it's an education or a formatting to see how quick they can get there. And again, we talk about discovery calls nonstop. And that's the big reason why, because the minute you can talk to one of us or a team member that's trained up on this stuff, they can help build out such a, and we're going to show you some of this stuff, such amazing things to help you get on the road to wealth.
100%. So some questions, if you're in a position where you think you do not have the capacity to invest or invest with us or invest separately, whatever that might look like for you, some key questions to ask yourself. 1, do you have any registered products that are underperforming? Right? I just had a sit down. I was through Ontario there. And
go ahead, but I'm going to back it up 1 sec. What do you mean by underperforming?
So I want to go back into what are registered funds.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of aspects here, right? So again, some people are like, well, I have a lira, but I can't do anything with a lira. So literally had an investor we met with who has a hassle-free landlord house with us, and they also do active investing on their own. And that was what they said. Well, I can't do anything with a lira. Yeah, you can. So this is where our fund to flip opportunity comes into play. So whether you have a lira, an RRSP, a TFSA, an RESP, any registered product that you could buy with stocks and mutual funds, you could turn around, put it into a self-directed account, and then we can access it through arm's length mortgages. This is something we do on the daily. We talk about it all the time. I just assume that everybody knows this a thing because we talk about it all the time, but apparently we don't talk about it enough.
Nope.
So this is why we wanted to kind of backtrack how we're going to talk about running example scenarios and talk about not specific people, but imaginary scenarios. We'll base them off of real life people we've been able to help. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, we try to meet people where they are at. So we don't have a little box that we try to shove you into. We literally customize an opportunity that makes sense for your financial goals and what you're working with. And I think that's what really differentiates what we do from a lot of other companies.
Yeah, it's seriously, it's literally customized. And I don't think people understand the value in that, because there's tons of real estate investments out there. We're not the only real estate investment company out there. The difference is, I strongly feel, well, there's quite a few differences, but one of the biggest ones is we customize it. That is again why the discovery session is so important, because we're going to literally break out where you are at and where you want to be and work with that.
And then work with what you actually have the capacity to work with at this point. Can you get mortgages? Yes, no. Do you have underperforming registered funds? Yes, no. Do you have equity in a property that you can tap into? Yes, no. Do you have cash? Yes, no. It's like this whole like this
Ladder.
weird, yeah.
Yes.
And we don't really know where to go with that conversation. So some people, we've worked with digital marketing companies where they're like, well, just create these questions and then people will ask or answer them, and then you could just give them a solution. It's just like, go here. And I'm like,
Not that
it's
simple.
customized, guys. Like we cannot do that.
Yeah.
And so again, it goes down to that touch point of picking up the phone, booking in a call. And I know some people will come to us and they're like, I didn't want to waste your time.
No.
It's not a waste of time, right? Even if we aren't able to work together, maybe you now have a better insight of what our products work or how they work and who they may be a best match for, and you become a referral partner. Who knows?
Yeah. And then like, here's a side story that involves that exact scenario. I was talking to the one, a person who called us up, and he was actually calling about his son. And his son in the end only had, it was a smaller amount of money. I want to say about $15,000. And it didn't sound like quite able to mortgage. But then I was like, well, you have a couple options. One, he could technically hard money lend that $15,000. Somebody might only need that much for renovations. Or I put him in touch with someone who deals in exempt markets, and their barrier to entry was $5,000. So that young person was able to get their money into real estate right now. And the father was so appreciative that just the fact that I was able to sit down and go, okay, well, here is the best things I can think of. Now, here's the info. Feel free to go out and hopefully some of this will work for you. Even though he wasn't a fit for us, it doesn't mean we don't know someone else that might fit with you, right? So again, this is why we emphasize, give us a call. We're not, anyone who sat down and had these conversations with us, we are not your standard, hey, we're here, we're going to sell, we're going to do all the things. That's not us. We're here to ask you all those questions that you yourself may not have thought about, or the things that you may not have realized, just to kind of basically bring it up to the surface for those that don't know, and then turn around and go, okay, well, I've seen Rochelle do magic where she's like, hey, here's scenario A, here's scenario B, and here's scenario C. And then people are like, I didn't even know I had a scenario, let alone 3 possibilities. Yeah. So
that's where it's personalized, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, for us, we do want to make this customized for you guys. So even if, again, we always want to make it as interactive as possible. If you guys have any specific situations, we would love for you to type them in the chat, be it on Instagram or Facebook or on our Zoom link here. And just let us know what your thoughts are. If you have any specific questions, because I'm sure if you're thinking it, there's about 10 other people who are as well. And so we'd love to answer your questions in live time. So if you have any, put them in the chat. And then at the end of the day, we are going to run some example scenarios of really kind of creative solutions. And usually it's not just a one-stop shop, right?
Nothing, you keep on going.
So at the end of the day, we customize it based on what your wants and needs are, and everybody's situation is so different. So for us, I don't want to run through just the basic numbers of a fund to flip and hassle-free, because I think that's really basic. The numbers on a fund to flip, it's always a 10% annual rate of return. You're going to put your cash into the deal. You fund the full purchase and renovation. That could be anywhere from $100,000 to $400,000, depending on the deal. You get registered on title. You're basically a private money lender for us. And then it's usually a 6-month term. It's a balloon payment paid out at the end. We will have some people ask us questions. Hey, can I get monthly payments? The answer is no. If you want monthly interest payments, either get a hassle-free landlord house with us, which provides monthly cash flow, but again, you have to qualify for the mortgage and all the other things, or we do have the promissory notes, which we do on the side as well. We don't advertise that. If you're interested in that, you'd have to get on the phone and we can, again, customize a solution for you. So for us, we're always trying to meet people, again, where they're at. And so until we know what you're looking for, we can't customize a solution. So fund to flip is pretty basic that way. Again, sometimes some of the meat that people miss is you could utilize cash. You can utilize funds from your home equity line of credit. You can utilize underperforming invested funds, RSPs, LIRAs. So even if you worked a past job and you were able to take and move your retirement pension with you when you moved, but you have it invested somewhere underperforming, and this is what Alyssa was talking about, what is underperforming? Basically, we can get you 10% annual rate of return on those funds. If you're making anything less, in my brain, it would be underperforming. Again, everybody has to assess their own situation.
And even taking that a step further, a lot of people will have those registered funds and they have the cute little mail documents that come to you that are supposedly your statements telling you the things. And you look at it and go, I don't have the university degree to read these. I don't know the verbiage. That is also why it's important to sit down and talk to Rochelle and her team, because they're going to be able to break out what is the actual language that is in that statement.
Yeah, we've actually had people who were like, I don't know how to read that statement. And I'm like, if you feel comfortable sharing that, I can actually go through, do an analysis for you, break it down, and then show you the numbers. I'm not recreating the wheel. It's literally there. It's just that, again, I've worked at a bank, I've ran scenarios and all these situations. This is the language I understand. So if I can decipher that for you, to just say, hey, here are the actual numbers. Once you actually broke it down, now you make an educated decision. And like Alisa mentioned, we're not pushy salespeople. So Bailey, myself, Alyssa will have a call with somebody. We give people an opportunity and say, hey, this is what we have to offer. If it's a best fit, here's the next steps. If not, no big deal. Don't forget, we have a really amazing referral program if you ever find somebody who might be interested in what we have to offer. And then we leave it there. We don't hound you 6 months later, or 6 weeks later, or 6 days later and say, did you make up your mind? Are you investing? La, la, la. Like, it doesn't matter. If it's not a great fit, guys, it's not a great fit. We don't chase people. And so at the end of the day,
again, it's only you will know when is the right time for you to build the wealth for you and your family. Only you will know that. We're not going to sit there and be the judge, jury, and executioner, or executor, I should say, on that decision. It's you have to pull the trigger, not us.
And so at the end of the day, you'll never find somebody who's like, oh, I felt pressured to invest with E.P.I.C. I was like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even call you back after that discovery session, because I don't have time to chase people. We have enough people who are like, yes, thank you for your time. I'm going to make do a little bit more research on my end, and I'm going to come back to you when I'm interested. Some people call the next day. Some people call a month from now. Some people call a year from now. That's on their own timeline.
Bailey and Rochelle, that team over there, the team they're building out, when people talk to you, they're going to break it down into a language and communicate with you in a way so you will understand it. Okay. And that's again why you can go read our website. Yes, you can go watch the videos and all the things, but there's always going to be those questions, or you're going to be like, okay, well, what? I don't quite get this. And they're going to be able to back up and bring it to you. So again, the biggest thing I think that a lot of people have to get over is, number one, being afraid to talk about money and being afraid to pick up the phone and talk to us. Like right there, those fears, just let them go. Because we're not ever, I don't care how big this company gets, we are never going to put people on the other end of that phone that are going to call you for the rest of your life or any of those things. Because this is a trade. This is a partnership. Okay. So when you become a partner with us, it goes both ways, right? So once you come on, we really are looking for you as that silent partner so that we can do all the things we are amazing at. Okay. For Rochelle, that's raising the capital, making the deals come together. That for me, that's the purchasing and all the HR and making sure all the work's being done on the properties, right? So if everybody's calling every 5 minutes about, hey, how's this, or how's that look, or how's this going, that eats it. That's what eats into our time, right? But again, discovery calls where it's like, hey, I really don't understand what a mortgage is or how that breaks out with a rental property. Don't worry, because it's not necessarily us that's going to answer your questions. That might be something where you're now going to a mortgage broker that we work with exclusively. We have a few of them that know our products, know who we are and what we offer. Okay, so don't put that on us that, oh, I'm bothering you, because you're not. Okay, so just erase that out of your mind. Okay, give her.
So I wanted to run through an example scenario of our most affordable hassle-free landlord house, just to show people what $25,000 in a hassle-free landlord house could do. And then we'll actually run through a scenario of what $25,000 not in a hassle-free landlord deal, but in a fund to flip opportunity can do. And then from there, it's really just you times that amount by whatever extra dollars you want to put in, and the numbers are the same.
Mhm.
And that's where I think a lot of people want to make it way more complicated than it actually is, but the numbers are the numbers. So a 15% return on your 20% down payment, your closing costs is really in ratio ways the same if you're going to put $25,000 into a deal versus $100,000 into a deal, but on the 100,000 you just times that original number by 4.
Mhm.
It's just the multiplication. And so I think that's where a lot of people want to make it more complicated than it is, and the numbers are just the numbers.
So in layman's terms, what she's saying is, whether you have 25,000 or you got a whole lot of money, we can work with it, and you're gonna make money.
So do we have any comments at all? Sure. Linus asks, what are the risks of either investment programs? So they are different risks. When it comes to the fund to flip opportunity, our investors are basically the registered mortgage company type thing. They're basically our bank. So we, Epic Alliance, is actually going to own the asset, but our investors get registered on title. So if anything were to ever go wrong on the deal or the property or whatever, and again, the way we back our deals, it's basically like an umbrella. So something would have to go horrifically wrong and our business ceases to exist. But at the end of the day, you ask what the risks are, you could technically foreclose on the property if we didn't pay you the full principal and the return that we had promised you. So that's
So basically, whether it's hassle-free or whether
we're talking fund to flip.
Fund to flip, you're going to end up with a tangible object.
So you'd have to do the foreclosure process, but that's how the fund to flip structured opportunity works. Now, when you talk about hassle-free landlord, don't forget, you didn't give us any money, guys. You didn't give us any money, right? So you put 20% down on the property, you paid for the closing costs, you got a mortgage, and you paid the down payment money and the closing cost money to the lawyer to purchase your property, okay? So we do go into a partnership with you. It's a 2-year contract. So we have a controlling share in that property, but at the end of the day, it is your house. So if anything were to ever go wrong and we didn't do what we were said we were going to do by what we were contractually obligated to do, technically we would lose out on that contract. And that's really how we make our money. Generally, if an investor takes their full 15% return a monthly cash flow, it bleeds the cash flow in the deal. That's okay. For us, we get the principal pay down at the end of the deal. And we also get to purchase the property back for a fixed in purchase price. Now, if we don't do what we said we were going to do, that contract gets ripped up and we don't make any money. Now, we would not still be in business if that's how we operated. And we know that bad news travels way faster than any of the good news you could ever do. So we're not going to do that. But at the end of the day, if something were to happen, you would have a cash flowing asset that you would either have to go hire a property management to take over, a property management company to take over the tenants, or liquidate it on the open market. So now I asked you, whatever you're choosing to invest in, be it a mutual fund, a stock, a business, what are your risks there? When the stock market goes all fuzzy and crazy, what do you get back at the end of it, right? So you just have to compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. We are providing people a safe place to put their funds. It's backed by brick and mortar. And then at the end of the day, they're going to get a set return. So people who are attracted to our deals are generally people who don't like a lot of risk. They don't like a lot of fluctuation. They like things that are really predictable. I wanted to talk to you guys as well about the rule of 72. Some people don't know about it, but it's a really cool way where you can actually run your numbers to know that when you're compounding your investment, you know exactly how long it's going to take you to double your funds. Some people don't know this. So if you, how many people, if I want this to be more interactive, raise your hand if you know what the rule of 72 is, please, or say, you know, something.
We've got a few raised hands here.
Okay. So basically, the rule of 72 is that you take whatever interest rate you're getting paid and you're going to be putting it into
doing this live time, people. We don't have this stuff memorized. So
I didn't structure this, so I just want to make sure I'm writing the numbers right. So you're basically going to take 72, and so the rule of 72, that's the base number. And then you divide that by whatever interest rate you're going to get paid. Okay, so this is whatever interest rate. So at the end of the day, that is going to tell you how many years it's going to take to double your money. Again, this is assuming that you're going to be making 10% annual rate of return every single year, and that you are going to keep compounding your funds. Okay, so how many people have their money in the stock market right now and have doubled their money every 7.2 years? Because
quick question for those out there. What do you mean by compounding your funds?
so compounding your funds is where you would take your original principal and then your new interest, and then every year you would roll it back into the deal. So if you're just going to have your original $100,000 and then you're going to take the interest to live off of every single year, you're not going to be doubling your funds because it's not going to be growing, right? So it's just the way, like, this is more for wealth building. So if somebody has a lira for $200,000 and they're going to invest it at 10%, then basically in 7.2 years, you're going to have $400,000. Just basic numbers. Now, what's interesting is let's change this number to 15, which is 15%, which is what our hassle-free landlord owners pay. So now again, 72 divided by 15, 4.8.
For less than 5 years, you're gonna double your funds.
Not bad, not bad. So some people are going to say, well, I can just go do a BRRRR and I can make all this money and then I can, you know, compound it quicker. That's cool. If you've got the time and the energy to go learn about real estate investing, to find the properties, to manage all the contractors, to manage the tenants, to do all the things, by all means, go do that then. Right? So we're not a best fit for everybody. We're a best fit for people who are so busy leading their best lives, be it that they love to travel, be it that they have 10 children, be it that they have jobs that take, you know, 80 hours out of their time each week, whatever that best life looks like. But those are people where they have cash, underperforming invested funds, or equity in a home that they could leverage to get their money working just as hard as they're working in their day-to-day to hit their financial goals faster. These are the rules of the rich, guys. The rich people have their money making money while they sleep.
It sounds easy, and it actually is. Once you learn some of these intricate things, it's not that hard. The key comes down to asking yourself, do I want to take that money and put it into something that I will actively have to participate in? Or do I want it to make money while I sleep and I'm passively involved with those funds?
I just had a fun thought.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so average investments for the stock market, people I think are making like 3.5%, 4% on average. That's like an average person. Some people are making less, some people are making more, whatever. But let's run the rule of 72 using 4%. Right? Let's see how many years it's going to take people to double their money this way. 72 divided by 4 equals 18 years. Yeah, 18 years. So that's not bad, right?
I ain't got time for that.
So this is why it's really important, guys, to make sure that you are being proactive about your investments and making sure you're staying on it right now, because that compounding is such a huge deal and time is going to pass anyway. So if you look at what your opportunity costs are for waiting a year, 2, 3, 4 years to take action, just run the numbers. It's all numbers. So again, that's why I love numbers. So do we have any other questions? I don't know if that was a new tidbit for people running everything at the rule of 72.
I think about half have heard of it.
Yeah, again, that's common knowledge for me,
Yeah.
and you know, money and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Lori, you need to use your after tax if it isn't registered funds, correct? I don't know. It's the numbers are the numbers. I'm not sure. I'm probably, but at the end of the day, it's just the numbers. Like, I'm pretty sure they didn't say this is your taxation because everybody's taxed differently, right?
Right. And everybody gets hung up on tax. We get this a lot when we're talking to people, and we always giggle because here's the thing. If there's taxes involved, that means you made money.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I always say
That's a very good thing.
I can't wait till we're paying millions of dollars in taxes, because what does that mean on the front side, guys? Get rid of your scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
Get thinking abundantly.
Yeah.
Right? Not that, oh, I don't want the tax man to get his pay. You know what? They're going to get their pay either way. So you know what? If you're really worried about paying taxes, let's start leveraging your tax-free savings account. If you're really worried about your taxation, like what? Do you just want to just quit your job, just go live in a, I don't know, little box behind somebody's house? Like, you know,
there's always formulas in order to pay the least amount.
Start a business.
Yeah, least amount of taxes. The problem is a lot of people just want to complain about it instead of having questions or conversations with people like Rochelle and I, or knowledgeable accountants. And I mean that wholeheartedly. There are a lot of accountants out there that don't understand the world of real estate and all it has to offer in passive and active investments and those kinds of things, and what taxation brackets are affected by both of those. And I mean, again, there's a discovery call. Talk to us, because we will send you to the people that can answer those questions, right? There's always a way to see if you can do better, right? Just even taking, and okay, let's look at that tax question. How do you like paying tax at 4% of your registered fund? Like if you're taking and making 4% in your stocks, like Rochelle showed you, okay, so you're gonna pay tax on that, right? After your retirement, right? Or would you rather have 10% earned on those, and then you're going to down the road pay tax on that amount? You're going to pay tax regardless, but it's the back end amount that you're going to end up with is larger, right? 4%, I'm going to take home this. 10%, I'm going to take home this, and the government's going to take home this. It doesn't matter.
Is what it is. So we hit halfway. So I just want to really break into some numbers. Do we have any questions or anything? Okay. So at the end of the day, I need this calculator, but so I wanted to run an example scenario. We got something. Yeah.
I'll look after this.
Okay. We don't provide accountants information. That's a case by case. You would have to.
Can you post your contact info and an accountant that understands epic investing? No, because we have many of them. So because it depends on you and where you're at. Again, that's why you need to call us.
And there's Glinia has a it never seemed to work in my mutual funds though. Okay, so the problem with mutual funds is they don't account for the Murphys that your personal financial planner is taking, and those are usually 2.35% on average of your investment. So of course the rule of 72 is not going to work, because your true returns are not reflected in your actual returns, because they're going to show you the returns before they take their fees.
So you know who has no Murphys? Epic.
Why don't we?
Because we invest with integrity.
So again, anybody who is going to put their funds over into a self-directed account, you're going to be setting these up with, again, for us, it's Olympia Trust. There's a few trust companies in Canada you can work with, but they are basically not personal financial planners. They take a flat fee for service. So it doesn't matter if you have $1 in your account or $1 million in your account, it's a flat fee. So we can explain this and break this all down for you. But at the end of the day, this is why, and I don't want to knock financial planners, but at the end of the day, they give a shit more about themselves and feeding their family than they do about you and your family. So again, is it time to take back control of your finances and start making a change? Or do you want to keep feeding their kids and putting their kids through college?
And that's a great example of a discovery call, because that's the stuff we could break down, because you could bring your Murphy numbers to us and then we could explain, okay, at Olympia Trust, here's your fees. That's it. Upfront, here it is. This is all it's going to be. Doesn't matter if it's here, your number, or here. This is the fee.
Yep. And so obviously, if you have more in the account, the fee is going to be a lesser percentage of the deal if you have a smaller account. And that's why we don't use accounts with less than 25,000, because by the time you account for those fees, it's going to wipe out too much of the profit, and it just doesn't make financial sense. So again, this is where it goes back to the discovery session phone call. So I just wanted to talk about a specific scenario. Just again, I'll go back to the smallest investment deal, and then we'll do one of the biggest ones. And when I talk about the biggest ones, I want to show you an example proposal of what might happen on a discovery session phone call. So let's go back to the very basics. So let's say that somebody wanted to invest $25,000 into a fund to flip opportunity. So in this, it would basically would be able to utilize those funds, but they'd have to go in a second or a third mortgage position behind somebody who has a larger amount of funds. Okay, so sometimes if we have somebody who's like, hey, I have 50,000, I have 80,000 in RSP. It's doing squat in the stock market. I want to start making 10%. How can I do that? Again, it's not enough to fund a full deal. So this is why we would have to top it up behind somebody else's bigger deal. But again, you're still making 10%. And some people say, was that higher risk? The way we run our deals, in theory, on paper, it looks like higher risk, but the way we do our deals, everybody gets paid out at the same time. You have to figure that out for yourself. But this is just the opportunity. So say somebody's got 25,000, we're going to register them in a third mortgage position on a fund to flip. So I always want to run those numbers. So fund to flip deal, $25,000. The annual rate of return, like we talked about, is going to be 10%. So we talk about those deals basically being every 6 months. So I'm going to run them at annual though. So in this case, we're going to assume that somebody funded 2 back-to-back 6-month deals to show what the true wealth opportunity could be. So I can run this in my head. I'm just doing it on the calculator in case anybody wants to check the numbers. 25,000 at 10%. At the end of the year, you end up making $2,500. Okay. So somebody's going to say, oh, that's not a lot of money. Well, to be fair, that's not a lot of money either. So at the end of the day, if somebody had $100,000, let's just times this number by 4. So now they've got $100,000 to invest, which is more money than 25,000. All you do is times this number by 4, and then that's going to reflect in the return. So again, base numbers. The numbers are the numbers. If you want to make more money, then put more money into the deal. That's it. Really all it is. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is a fun. So now if somebody is like, but I want to make more money, a higher return, pardon me, then we would say, well, in our hassle-free landlord program, you can actually make a 15% annual rate of return, but you do have to qualify for a mortgage, right? So there is a trade-off. We're going to utilize some of your credit capacity to get a house so that we can afford to pay you more, because we're going to be paying that to you in monthly cash flow from the tenant that we're subletting the house to and all the other stuff. So let's just go back to numbers there. So again, I'm going to stick to our smallest investment opportunity. So we're going to run this off of a $120,000 property. So HFLP. And I'm just going to run base numbers. I'm not going to talk about what the property taxes and house insurance and all that stuff is going to be. Like specifically, I'm just going to run these. So 120,000 purchase price. I did that wrong. Purchase price. So on 120,000, we're going to times that by 20%, which would be the down payment, which is, again, I'm going to run all these because, again, 120,000, 20% equals $24,000. So in Saskatchewan, we always say the closing costs are going to be about 1 to 1.5% of the purchase price. So in this example, let's just use 1.5 just to say closing costs. So this might be a little bit higher, but again, we can tweak it. We can, if you only specifically had 25,000, we could figure out a way to get a, say 1.5. So closing costs are about 1,800. So for this specific deal, the investor would be bringing 25,800. So now, when we pay the return, we're always going to crunch the numbers off of a 15% return. How those returns are paid to the investor is up to the investor, but let's assume that this investor is wanting all cash flow. So 2,500 cash in the deal times it by 15%. We're going to make $3,870 annually. Let's divide that by 12. Let's say they want monthly cash flow. It ends up being $322.50 a month. That's cash flow. I'm going to run that again, just make sure I got it all right. Okay, so this $300 a month of cash flow, that's right? Does anybody else run these numbers? Yeah. That's fine. Okay, so this $322 a month of monthly cash flow comes in like clockwork. So it comes in through the monthly rent. So let's just say that the mortgage on this property is going to be 500, and then property taxes, house insurance, all that stuff. So maybe it's $1,200 is what goes into the investor's bank account. And then from there, they deduct the mortgage, property taxes, house insurance, and then they're left with their monthly cash flow. So not bad, right? You have a passive opportunity. You never have to see the property. You never have to deal with any of the tenants or toilets, because that's what we do. That's our agreement. And then you're getting over $300 a month of passive cash flow. So we have some people that are like, well, I want $1,000 a month of passive cash flow. So what would our answer be? Either buy 3 of these houses or buy a larger house, right? So if you're going to buy a larger house, you're going to have more money invested, which bumps you into a higher return, because the numbers are the numbers. Hopefully that makes sense. Do we have any questions? Oh, we're writing numbers here. Okay. Or writing down questions.
I can actually read it if you
Okay,
like.
yeah.
I think this one's.
Oh, I can't read that one.
All right.
I can only read that.
Okay. Warren says, can you reinvest the profit you make instead of withdraw? For fund to flip or hassle free? Okay. So if you're getting money from fund to flip, you're going to get paid out at the end of the project, and you can compound that in right away, right? If you are in a hassle-free landlord deal and you're taking monthly cash flow, to reinvest that money, you're obviously going to have to buy another property to reinvest it, or you're going to have to find a different way to invest it, because we can't take that extra $300 a month and start paying you a return on it. It wouldn't make sense, right? So again, it depends on which investment opportunity you're talking about. This goes back to a discovery session phone call, so we can customize a scenario for you. So, do we have any more questions? Okay. All right, so I'm going to take this off, and then I want to talk about an example scenario that we get. So most of our clients, I think a lot of people know this, most of our investors come from Vancouver and Toronto. Why would people from Toronto and Vancouver contact us?
Because typically they have the ability to understand more of this investment side, where they're utilizing their properties and that appreciation that's in those properties.
Right, appreciation, something we don't experience here in Saskatoon or Saskatchewan very often, right? Every, 50 years, it's a little bonus.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just something we just don't really have here. So we always try to explain to people that here we have heavy cash flow, very little appreciation, but in Toronto and Vancouver, like Alisa said, very heavy appreciation, very little cash flow. So anybody who understands real estate investing and long-term buy and holds and is smart about how they invest is generally not going to buy a property there and expect it to cash flow. Okay, you might find the odd unicorn, or you might be really handy and you're able to go out, force value in a property, do the BRRRR, get a property cash flowing.
Again, with that being said, that means you're the person that wants to be an active investor and not a passive investor.
Totally. So let's just run an example scenario on let's just say an average person. I want to say a name. Let's say a name. What word are we going to call it? Okay, so Connie comes to us. Okay, so Connie bought a condo in Vancouver. Let's say Vancouver condo. Okay. Now, usually I would knock Connie for buying a condo in Vancouver, but she needed a place to live. So this made sense for her. So she bought it 10 years ago. Okay. And she has lived there the whole time. And it was her principal residence. Okay. So she bought it for $250,000. Makes about sense, right? It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo. Bought it for $250,000. Well, guess what happened in that 10 years? Her condo is now worth $600,000. Can you believe that? Great. So now she also has obviously the mortgage pay down, but she's also got a lot of equity. So now let's not even talk about the equity, the principal pay down she has. She's probably paid off at least a third of that mortgage. We're not going to talk about that right now, but we're just going to talk about this, what her valuation on a property is worth. So again, not even talking about the extra gravy. We're just going with bare none here. So we take that 600,000 minus her original valuation of what she paid for it. Okay. So now she's going, and again, I'm going to use my calculator because I always want to be right. So 600,000 minus 250,000, she's got $350,000 of equity there. Right? So Connie might say, oh, well, you know, I want to pay off my house. I want to pay off my condo to nothing. Okay, so she's going to keep paying for another 15 years and then have a property that's paid off. Good for her. But what is that getting her ahead by having a house that's paid off to nothing?
Not.
It's not, right?
It's not.
So whereas, again, this is where we're trying to educate people, the idea of leveraging and the idea that having one property paid off might not be a best solution. Because if you're sitting on a bunch of tied up equity and not doing anything with it, what is that helping? You're literally living in the property, so you're not making any money off of it. So it's a liability because you still have to pay the mortgage. You still have to pay the property taxes, probably condo fees in this case, plus the utilities, insurance, all these things. So what some people look at as an asset, like Connie was before she talked to us, it's actually a liability. So what we want to try to educate people is, hey, what if you could turn that same property into a cash flowing asset? Right? And some people might say, well, I'm not going to move out of it. I'm not going to rent it. Well, who cares? You wouldn't cash flow on that even if you rented it out anyway. But what if you were to get a home equity line of credit? Some people don't even know this exists, which like completely blows my mind. But if you have good income and you have good credit and your debts are relatively low, it's always based on your debt service ratio. Again, this is the mortgage shock and all that stuff, which I can't run the numbers for you, but I can definitely put you in touch with an amazing mortgage broker who can help you refinance or run the numbers to just tell you if this is even an option. But at the end of the day, usually the bank will let you go up to 80% loan to value on your property. So let's just assume that Connie goes and talks to Shar. And then she said that she is interested in going only 50% loan to value because she's a little risk averse, right? What happens if something happens? She doesn't want to put all her eggs in one basket. Okay, fair enough. So we're going to say $600,000 divided by 2. So she could technically go in and access $300,000 worth of the value of that home. Okay, that's only at 50% leverage. Keep in mind, the banks would let her go up to 80. So based on that $300,000, if she turned around and invested these funds with E.P.I.C, so let's just say that she does a mixture of, and I can break this down for you, but let's just say she does a mixture of hassle-free landlord houses at 15%. Let's say that she does 2 of those houses, right? So she does 2 houses at $250,000. So 2 HFLP houses. Don't forget, if she leverages her home equity line of credit, she's going to have a monthly line of credit payment. And so she doesn't want to pay that from her paycheck. She wants her investments to be able to pay that. So this is where the hassle-free landlord houses come in handy because they pay a monthly cash flow to the investor and the investor does what they want monthly with their funds. So if you take that money and pay down your debt, great, good for you. So 2 HFLP properties. So she's going to invest $100,000 on $100,000, and she's going to earn 15% annual rate of return on that 100,000. Okay, so $100,000 times 15%. So that's going to get her $15,000 a year.
You got a great comment. You better read that.
I love that we are using our HELOC to earn interest with E.P.I.C Alliance. Yeah, right on, Denver. Okay, smart. It's super smart. Okay, so she's going to use $100,000 for the hassle-free landlord houses. Those were down payments, and that will do a breakdown here. But then the other $200,000, she decides to do a ninja flip. Okay, why is she doing a ninja flip instead of a traditional fund to flip? The ninja flip is where we're using the tax-free savings account because most of our clients who are in this high tax bracket want to make as much tax-free money as possible. And so this is where our ninja flip comes into play because we're getting our clients 29% completely tax-free. Not bad. Okay, So now,
Yeah. Check this out.
so now she's gonna invest $200,000 in a ninja fund of life. So at the end of 1 year, so I'm gonna break out this ninja flip too. Again, might be a little overcomplicated for some people. Book in a discovery session phone call first. So $200,000 at 10%. After 1 year, she's gonna earn $20,000. Okay, but I want to make sure this is like fully transparent. So with the ninja flip, we're gonna strategize it so that 150,000 will be earning 4%, and the 50,000 TFSA say 50,000 say is at 20%. Okay, so 50,000, 4% is $6,000, and then the 50,000 TFSA at 29 is going to be 14,000. Okay, these numbers might be a little bit small. I'm going to rewrite them over here just so I give you guys a full picture, because some people might be saying, yeah, but she's using her home equity line of credit. She's going to have interest payments. Yeah, we're going to account for that right away. So at the end of the day, these are what the profits would be. But now let's deduct what her cost of borrowing was. We got 10 minutes left. Okay. And so with Connie, we were able to turn $300,000 of HELOC funds home equity line of credit into $15,000, which again, this would bump the cash flow. I don't really want to get into that. I just want to show you guys the full annual rate of return. So this would be 15,000 annual. And then again, because we did the ninja flip here, these are the numbers I'm going to take. So with this HELOC funds, she's going to have made $6,000 annually. And then 14,000. But because she leveraged $300,000 from her home equity line of credit, she's going to have about a 3% annual rate of return interest payment. So that money, the cost of borrowing on this is going to end up being $9,000. Sorry, $9,000 a year. 300,000 times 9,000. Okay. So again, sometimes it takes money to make money, but that $9,000, because she turned around and put that money into investments, is a write-off. Some people forget that, right? It's really important to make sure you have a good accountant that you're working with so that you make sure that you can write off all of the stuff properly. So now, by leveraging what was sitting there doing nothing in properties, she was able to turn around, and I'm just going to run this because this is the no, but this is the taxable though. $1,000 taxable. Okay, so this is really what it comes down to. She was able to earn taxable $12,000 of taxable income, and then $14,500 of tax-free money. So again, our taxation rate is going to be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, that's over $25,000 of newfound wealth that she was just sitting on by living in a condo. So this might be too advanced, it might be too much, it might be too complicated, I don't know. But this is where I just really wanted to show you guys that Booking in a discovery session phone call so we can find out about your specific scenario. We can find out about what your financial goals are. We can find out about what you're working with. We didn't even talk about her RSPs and her Lyra because, you know, she's a tech executive, so she's got all those jacked, right? I'm just talking about the equity that she had available in her condo. Somebody says it makes sense. Perfect.
And here's the thing for breaking it out for those that don't quite get all the numbers. How many of you are sitting in a home and you've been there a while? That means you have equity. If you've paid your mortgage and you haven't turned around and gone to the bank and got a line of credit, and here's where most people do that, okay? Oh geez, you know what, my mortgage is due, and then the bank is for renewal. And the bank's gonna go, hey, you know what, you've paid down your mortgage like pretty good here. Would you be interested in a line of credit?
Or refinancing.
Or refinancing your mortgage. And then you're like, yeah, because I need a new kitchen. Or yeah, I want a boat or I want a car. No, you want to invest it so that you're making money to pay for the kitchen or to pay for the car. Okay. If you go and just use the line of credit to buy the car or the boat or the kitchen, the money is gone. Okay, you're the one with your hours you're working and how hard you're doing it. That is not putting your money to work for you. That is you working twice as hard to make more money.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
So Lori says, I love making awesome returns on the bank's money. Super smart, Lori. Love it. And then Mark says, OPM, baby. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep. So it goes back to how we started our business. Why did we even get really good at numbers like this and creating these amazing situations? Because we didn't have any money. So we had to get really good at using OPM and making our investors crazy amount of returns so that they would take, you know, basically trust in us so that they would stay with us for a long time so we can keep creating these win-win solutions.
Again, so if the investors aren't making money, we're not making money. That's a great partnership.
And our investors get paid first. So
yeah.
Harry says, can you write off interest on borrowed funds used to invest in a TFSA? No, that would be illegal. So again, you can't write off the interest because the money that you're making is tax free. So you already had a tax break. So you still can utilize your home equity line of credit funds to put into a TFSA. You just can't write off that interest portion. But if you have cash, pure cash, that's what I usually suggest is use your home equity line of credit money for the leveraging side. And then whatever cash you have, use that to put into your TFSA. Right. So some people don't have any money available that way. Just use the home equity line of credit, but just be very cautious about your taxation. Good question though, but yeah, no double dipping. Any more questions? What do we have? Can you explain promissory note? So basically a promissory note is where somebody invests the money to us as the business directly. So it's not secured on title. So most people, and that's why we don't advertise it anywhere, because there's got to be a certain level of trust because you're basically like lending us the money kind of like a loan, knowing that we're going to pay you back. So if there's not a level of trust, we don't want to just go and give that offering to anybody because we don't want wiggy investors. But once people have worked with us for a while and they're like, hey, I want monthly cash flow, I want a higher return, can I do something else? This is where we would bring that up in conversation. Again,
they usually have become our friends and then that's what it is.
Yeah, because for us, it's like we try to create win-win opportunities, but yeah, people gotta know who we are and what we do. So there has to be a relationship there. And then Gennett says, what happens if you want the down payment under the hassle-free? What happens to your equity and the capital gain during the time that you have a mortgage? So again, goes back to our basic fundamentals of the hassle-free landlord program. We have an epic hour like completely dedicated to breaking down the hassle-free landlord program. But yeah, and we can put the link for the hassle-free landlord video in the comments and stuff later. But it basically, the down payment gets stuck in that property and you would get that back whenever you decided to sell the property back to us, but it is tied up in that asset for the entire time that we're in the contract with you. And then what happens to your equity and the capital gain during the time you have a mortgage? So again, if you're taking your 15% return in monthly cash flow, then we are entitled to, excuse me, the principal pay down at the end of the 2-year term. So if you want the equity, then you can keep that. We just get more of the cash flow up front. So again, that's where when some people are like, hey, this is what I want. I don't need monthly cash flow right now. I just want a safe place to keep my money growing. That's fine, but it's customized. But that's essentially.
It kind of goes back to when you were asking about the $300 a month. Is there a way that a person could look at investing that? That is a roundabout way. We've had investors do that where they're taking that principal pay or mortgage principal pay down, and what they're doing is letting that bank so they can turn around and buy another house.
Yeah.
We've done that with quite a few investors.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, again, if Connie's main goal was to pay off her condo, well, think about how much faster she's going to be able to do that with an extra $1,000 a month of cash flow coming in. If she just puts that right back onto the original principal or the original home equity line of credit to pay that down, it's the compound effect, right? So at the end of the day, if you can have 3, 4, 5 houses that are cash flowing, you take that extra money and you hammer down the original mortgage, it's just leveraging, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to be tying up here. We got one more question.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, one more minute. So Mark, okay.
What's the minimum total amount combined cash, TFSA, RRSP, etc. we would need for fund to flip?
So to do a full fund to flip on your own, to be the only one on title, it'd be about $150,000. To be in the first mortgage position, it'd be $100,000. Okay, so we always try to work with people where they're at, but some people want to be on the property on their own. That's totally fine. Now, the other thing with this is you can actually utilize up to 3 fund sources. So if you had a home equity line of credit, you can mix it with your cash, and then you had an RSP and your TFSA, you can utilize all 3 sources on one deal.
Just our next avatar.
Okay, and then Mark says, do we get all of our total initial investment back in HFLP or just the down payment funds? Yeah, good question. So you get your 20% down payment, but we don't reimburse for the original closing costs. We do account for those being the total initial investment, and you do make your 15% annual rate of return on that. And you do obviously get to use that as a tax deduction, but we don't reimburse for those original closing costs. So if you kept that deal active with us after 7 years, you would have been basically paid back that full return on those initial closing costs. Plus you got to use them as a deduction in year 1, but we don't reimburse for them. At the end of the day, when you sell the property back to us, as long as you close with our lawyers from the sale, we will cover those closing costs. So there's no extra fees at the end of the deal when you're exiting. So again, you can always set up a call if you want to know more about it, but yeah. So, right. Thanks. Perfect. Okay. And then next up, I got
Wednesday, November 25th at noon Sasky time, 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern.
So thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you guys got some information out of here. Sorry for the Facebook mix up. If you watched on Facebook, don't forget to, sorry, I'm dying here. Hashtag replay. If you watched on the replay and if you guys got any value about this, feel free to share.
Please and thank you.
Okay.
So
thank you guys so much.
stay epic.